what's up you guys? It's Gina. Welcome to my channel. Yes, I know, I'm finally doing it. I'm finally back on the channel. I'm finally filming things. I promised to a lot of you guys at the beginning of 2020 that I would make this super active, and I kind of just fell off the past few months. I'd like to blame the whole pandemic situation, but it's also just me being lazy as shit. So I don't know, but I'm here now and I'm excited. A couple days ago, I asked you guys in an Instagram poll if you guys would be interested in me starting a web series. Well, technically 2 web series. True Crime Tuesdays and Conspiracy Fridays. And you guys were so down for it. You know, there's only a couple of you guys watching it, but you gotta start somewhere. So I really appreciate you guys kind of giving me that boost to go forward with something that I've wanted to do for so long. But yeah, as you guys can also see, based off of my second poll, you guys wanted to see Conspiracy Fridays first, which is why I'm uploading today. Congratulations, conspiracy fans, because you won. But anyway, get into a little bit of a crazy theory today and a whole insane concept behind this theory, and the history of it is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. When I tell you crazy, it's fucking crazy. With that being said, seriously. With that being said, let's get started. Just before I start, just a quick disclaimer. Anyone that I mention in this video, I mean no disrespect to them or their family. I just want to make that clear. Everything that I found is based off of fact that I found on the internet, as well as it just being theories. So, everything's a theory. Everything that is a fact I found on the internet, and I just want to make a full disclaimer before I really jump into this. With that being said now, let's get started. MKUltra. It started in the 1950s, but it turned into an official government project in 1953. It's a government program of mind control done by the CIA. Now keep in mind everything that I'm saying right now is actually true. These are actually facts. This is a little background information on just what MKUltra was, which is insane. Insane. The project lasted around 20 years, and in 1973, people actually began getting a little fishy of what was going on with this project. It was a top secret project, but people kind of started leaking information, and people started looking into it and realizing just what MKUltra actually was. Basically the CIA conducting experiments on American citizens without their knowledge, based around mind control. Like what? Like how is that? How is that even okay? Like 20 years of this happening, and it was only deemed an issue in the 70s. Like, you were... There was, like, controlling the minds of Americans without them knowing. That is just... It sounds like a dystopia. Like, am I wrong? I don't know. Some people actually referred to this project as Project Creep, which is unbelievably fitting, if I do say so myself, because it's fucking creepy. Apparently, the reason MKUltra even came to be in the first place was because of war and military. So America was concerned that China and Russia were actually ahead of the game, in a sense, of what their technology was, and they already had the technology and materials and methods to have mind control amongst their military and their people. So America was kind of scared that we were falling behind, and they wanted to catch up as fast as they possibly could. And the birth of MKUltra came to be. From what we know, the concept of MKUltra and mind control was basically to build the perfect soldier. A total of 149 sub-projects that took place within MKUltra's experiments. So just to list a few of these experiments and sub-projects that came to be with MKUltra, they use electroshock therapy, hypnosis, directly using drugs and chemicals on their subject. So some of these things included LSD and mushrooms. So LSD and mushrooms were the ones that were actually confirmed to be used on these people, but there could have been more substances that we don't even know exist or know about. There's actually a little like theory that people have that people believe that LSD was actually created by the government as part of MKUltra, and then they distributed it to the street, and that's who's responsible for LSD being out there. There's a whole other conspiracy theory on drugs and the government and all that kind of stuff, which I would have to do a totally different video, but just scratching the surface with this, like, yeah. So other ones would be sleep deprivation. So it was quite literally making people sleep deprived up until they lost their mind completely so that they can be controlled. Testing substances on human tissue. No one knows what that actually entailed, which is scary, and it sounds scary, but no one knows what that actually meant, which is a little insane. So these are just a few. Like, there's actually been a ton more, but we don't know the full extent of them or what exactly they were, which I'll get into a little bit later as to why we don't know. Some of the results of these experiments that took place were experiencing intoxicating effects, so it make people feel drunk or high, enhanced effects of hypnosis, enhance their ability to withstand physical or mental torture, erases memories, prolonged periods of shock and trauma, and confusion as well. Experiencing paralysis, which is, that one has to be the scariest to me. So it would basically just paralyze the person and they wouldn't be able to do anything, which is, oh my God, that's just so dark and so scary to even think that people were having this done to them without their knowledge. Worst part about all of this was that during these experiments, there weren't even doctors on hand. So if something went wrong with these experiments and these subjects, there was no doctor to help them. Like, it was basically fend for yourself. Like, what? Like, how do you how do you make or come up with experiments with unknowing subjects and not even have a doctor on hand? Like, that's horrible. It's just, I don't know. Sorry, you're gonna see me get very emotional with some of these videos, just a heads up to you guys, because, oh my God, So from what we know, 2 Americans actually did die from these experiments. Many others were actually permanently damaged, which is just incredibly sad. Like, you completely took these people's lives away and they had no idea that it was being done to them. I think the scariest part about all of this as well was that children were amongst some of the subjects in the experiments. The parents, guys, the parents didn't even know that the kids were having the experiments done on them. Like, I don't understand how that's possible or how they got away with it, but it happened and it was real. Some women actually came forward discussing their experience as a subject in the experiments, which I can do a total other video on as well. I'm not gonna get into the full details of everything that these women said, but the first woman's name was Lynn Moss Sherman, and the second woman's name was Kathleen Sullivan. And Kathleen Sullivan was actually telling the story about her as a child, being a child experiment for MKUltra, which is, the recount is just very detailed and there's a lot in going into it.
My name is Kathleen A. Sullivan. I'm a master's level social worker, human rights advocate, and author. I'm also one of many thousands of survivors of extreme abuse and human rights violations that have been committed in secrecy by U.S. government officials, employees, and contractors. I wish that I could say that our horrors ended with human experimentation. Unfortunately, many of us have also been used as human slaves.
They do an entire other video on those transcripts of people coming forward about their experience as a test subject. I want to see that at some point. Give this video a like and a comment, and maybe I'll do that at some point. Hospitals, too. Hospitals were actually in on these experiments at the time. 12 were confirmed to have been part of it, and apparently they used their cancer patients that were terminal as subjects, because if anything did happen to them, they were terminal anyway. Like, that was the logic, which is so dehumanizing. I mean, this whole thing is dehumanizing, but like, what? Like, how is that? How do you get away with that? I don't understand. I'm gonna say I don't understand a million times because I just quite frankly don't. In the 70s, after all of this happened and the experiments were taking place, and over that 20-year span, you know, people kind of started figuring out what was going on. The head of the CIA named Richard Helm actually had all of the files that had to do with MKUltra completely destroyed. So we really don't have as much information as we could on the actual MKUltra experiments. Who the subjects were, we don't know the location of where they took place, we don't know the budget and where they were getting the money for it. We have no idea, which again, super fishy, right? Like, you would think that even if it becomes illegal and it's not used anymore, they would still have whatever the government was doing as an experiment on file somewhere. Like, to have them all destroyed. And another thing that I think you guys should hold on to, this little tidbit of information, is that the Kennedys were actually head of the investigation for MKUltra. Now, if you know anything about the Kennedys, they're a fishy family. Like, there's some shady shit that goes on with all of them, and I will be doing a video on that at some point because there's a lot, but this is just an example. Like, the Kennedys were the head of the investigation on MKUltra, so happened to be like thrown away. Like, that's fishy as shit, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Like I said, I get carried away with my emotions with things sometimes, so I apologize in advance. But yeah, it's interesting that everything just so happens to be a mystery and the Kennedys are already tied to it. Like, it's just wild. So there's a person that we're actually going to be discussing today. There's actually a little bit of a true crime case in this conspiracy theory, which is quite interesting. There was a man named Dr. Frank Olson. Dr. Frank Olson was a biological and a technological researcher for the US military at the time. He traveled with the CIA worldwide and worked very closely with them. Now, this was during the 1950s, so he was very involved with the US government and research for the military and all of that kind of stuff. And in November of 1953, and now keep in mind, 1953 is the same year that MKUltra actually officially started. Dr. Olson was at a research convention with 9 other scientists in Maryland, and while they were there, they were actually all drugged by MKUltra. They were all slipped LSD into their drinks. 9 of the scientists came out totally fine with not a single problem. But Dr. Frank Olson came out with severe symptoms of schizophrenia and paranoia. Permanent damage to this man's psyche because the CIA slipped him what they claim was LSD. Now, like I said, everyone else came out totally fine, but Dr. Frank Olson, who was a biochemical and technological researcher for the US military, ended up screwed up. I don't know. Fishy, yeah, I know. Sent him to New York to receive a treatment for what happened to him at the convention. And he was staying up in a hotel with another unknown CIA agent, and he was awaiting his treatment. So while he was there one night at 2:30 in the morning, Dr. Frank Olson rolled out of his bed, crashed through a glass window in his hotel room, and fell to his death. Yeah, grown man, schizophrenia or not, with a CIA agent in the room that's supposed to be looking after him, rolls out of his bed in the middle of the night, crashes through a glass window on the top floor of a New York hotel, and falls to his death. Oh, after this, all of a sudden, when the CIA was being questioned by the friends and family of Dr. Olson, switched his death from an accident to a suicide. And at the time, Richard Helm, again, the head of the CIA, had claimed that Dr. Olson suffered from severe depression. He's been depressed for years and he's always had this problem. Now, this was not the case. This was not true. Dr. Frank Olson's family came forward and said he never had depression. There's no record of him ever having depression or any kind of mental illness before the LSD slip anywhere. He had friends, he talked to his family regularly, and there was nothing wrong with him. He was a totally normal dude. There was no sign of depression anywhere in this man, and they ruled it a suicide. After the family kind of started being a little more vocal about what they think might have happened to Olson, the CIA actually gave them settlement money. Yeah, the CIA gave them settlement money, paid them off, and they were invited to have a dinner at the White House with, at the time it was President Gerald Ford, and just kind of took the money and disappeared. But in 1994, the family still wasn't okay with what happened to their family member, and they actually had the body exhumed and the case file re-examined, and it actually turns out that Frank Olson was attacked before he fell out of that window. Yeah, he was attacked, guys. No surprise there, right? Or whatever happened to him, he was attacked before he fell out that window. Now, it is inconclusive still of what actually happened to him, but no one's ever really looked into it after that. Like, they kind of buried the case again. Like, no one knows what actually happened to Dr. Frank Olson that night, which is so incredibly chilling. Like, what happened? People have some ideas of what might have happened to Frank Olson that night or leading up to that night. So basically, as we know, Dr. Frank Olson was a researcher with the CIA. So he was traveling all over the world with them. He was always with them. He was clued in on a lot of secret things that had to do with warfare and biochemical warfare and technological things of that nature for the military. People think that it's possible that at some point or another, Olson might have accidentally stumbled in on something he wasn't supposed to see or be part of, or something like that, and it had to do with MKUltra, and he might have not agreed with whatever it was that was going on, or what they were using these warfare tactics for, which it would include MKUltra. He might have seen or heard something, and he might have tried to quit the CIA, or he might have tried to expose them, or tell people the truth. Like, and the CIA wasn't having it, and they killed him. Like, that's a theory that people have, and it makes sense It makes a lot of sense and it's scary. Jump into what could MKUltra actually be used for. Now they claim that it was for the perfect soldier. I don't know how many of you guys have seen Captain America: The Winter Soldier with Steve Rogers and Bucky Barnes, but that's basically based off of MKUltra, and they actually talk about it a little bit in the movie. So a lot of people do think that yes, it was to build a perfect soldier and everything, and they just needed to test on people to see if they could do it on regular people, and I don't know. I mean, that does make sense. It does. But at the same time, some of these theories that I'm about to tell you kind of do make sense too. I mean, depending on how deep you go into theory, but all right, let's jump into the theories now. Theory number one is that the Illuminati and the government are actually behind MKUltra. So MKUltra is controlling celebrities to think a certain way. So celebrities, politicians, athletes, all of these people that are always in the spotlight that we all look up to. And this is all a plot for New World Order. The premise of it is that whoever's in charge of the New World Order, whoever's above, or whoever's like the actual head honcho of the New World Order, is controlling people in the media to think a certain way, say things, or be a certain way. And it's making us believe in what they're saying so they can inevitably become the higher power and get what they want by basically using them as puppets. Now, no one knows if it's like actually the Illuminati, but that's the main theory, that's who's like behind all of this, which that could explain that whole theory about glitching. Insert some clips right after this, just so you guys know what I'm talking about. But there's theories that some of these celebrities are actually glitching out from their hypnosis of MKUltra. They're actually glitching out from their hypnosis under MKUltra, and that's why they're like zoning out in these videos or like just staring at the camera, because they're glitching, like they don't know what's going on. Some examples I'm gonna show you guys are like Wendy Williams, Cardi B, Al Roker, Beyonce. These are all people that are kind of showing the signs of what people are claiming, which I'm gonna put right now.
We'll leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, there is a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35. It was a lot of fun. Let's get started. Our first caress.
Yeah, the Al Roker one's fucking weird. You guys have probably seen that, but that can also explain breakdowns. It's like celebrity breakdowns, like why celebrities go crazy. I mean, yeah, of course it makes sense if they're like in the spotlight constantly and they have a lot of stress and pressure, but considering this theory, like Britney Spears' breakdown, Billie Joe Armstrong's breakdown in Green Day, Kanye West, Amanda Bynes, Lindsay Lohan, these were all people that were like pretty top tier in the limelight, and they just kind of like glitched and lost their mind. Like they kind of just snapped back to reality and out of their hypnosis and realized, like, didn't know who they were anymore. That's a crazy theory to think about. It kind of makes sense. With all of that being said, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about all of this, because it's a lot. This video could have honestly been in 2 parts. If you guys want me to do more detail on this kind of stuff, comment below and let me know, because I'll be more than happy to. But it's just like, this theory is very wild, and there's a lot, because MKUltra was a real thing, like we said, and it infected a lot of people. It permanently damaged a lot of people, and people tend to forget that it was real. Like, this was a real deal thing. Like what? Like, you were basically drugging people without their knowledge in a country that we're all supposed to be safe and free. Like, that's just, like, what? Like, you permanently damaged all of these people because of a government experiment. Like, what? Like, I don't care what the variables of the experiment were. It's just so dehumanizing and scary, like, to think about that the government was getting away with this for 20 years. 20 years. I don't know. All right, I'm gonna wrap this video up now. Thank you all for watching. This is my first one, so it might be a little, like, I don't know, a little shitty, but I'm gonna try and keep getting the hang of everything and being a little more comfortable in my own skin, because again, I'm kind of just talking to a camera, so I'm not really used to this yet. But thank you again all for watching. See you guys all on Tuesday for my first True Crime Tuesday video. I know, I'm excited about it. Like and subscribe and comment and share and all that kind of fun stuff. And I will see you guys on Tuesday.